in North America, few spare parts suppliers can make benefits, make profits, while for TRW always do a very good job. So can you tell us what's the main reason to make the TRW achieve such great performance?
Well, I think first of all, I think we have as I mentioned earlier, I think we have a very, very strong product portfolio. So we have products that our customers want to buy, that we think allow our customers to make better cars with enhanced features and functionality. We certainly have very strong diversification in our customer base and our geographic base that has certainly positioned us to survive, if you will, or mitigate some of the downturn in volume of our traditional customers in North America. But from a fundamentals perspective, we have a very focused and very strong cost reduction program. We've had strong cost reductions operationally and from a purchasing and sourcing perspective over the last several years that have allowed us to maintain our competitiveness. And I think fundamentally TRW over the last really even 10 to 15 years has consistently worked to reduce our cost position in our manufacturing and sourcing activities, really focused on, where appropriate, shifting our manufacturing to low-cost countries, shifting our sourcing to go along with that to low-cost countries so that we can maintain and create competitive advantage. And then I think we do other things that are important to the company's success as well. We've worked very hard at reducing our borrowing costs. There's been a significant amount of restructuring of our balance sheet over the last 3 or 4 years that has significantly reduced, if you will, the interest that we pay to the banks and to the lenders of money to TRW. And we've also worked to optimize our effective tax rate around the world, which again ultimately improves our cash flow. And for TRW, in addition to obviously working cost and margin of our product, I think the fundamental focus of the company is cash. It's a little bit like, you know, you're at your home, you have to pay rent, you have to buy groceries, you have to buy clothes. At the end of the day, what we all do at home is we focus very heavily on how much debt can we have and how does cash get generated every month from our paychecks, and so we can pay for all the things that I just mentioned. And TRW's fundamental focus is on cash flow and cash performance. It's the lifeblood of any company ultimately. You can be profitable and not generate cash, and that's ultimately not a good situation, because you need cash to make investments in R&D, because R&D is basically a cash initiative other than the capital assets that you buy, but it's a cash initiative.
That's right.
And so you need that to be able to do that. And the capital expenditures you make to buy the equipment that you use, to buy the tooling that you need to make the parts, is very much cash oriented. So you've got to have the cash to drive those initiatives. So TRW is very focused on cash generation, and I think that's been a fundamental reason that TRW has been successful over the years.
As you just mentioned, TRW making very good profits. One reason is that you keep on the sourcing in low-cost countries. So China will be is one of the low-cost countries for global automotive sourcing. So how's the progress you already made, and any comments on these strategies?
Well, I haven't looked at the latest actual statistics because TRW does measure their low-cost country sourcing within their purchasing function. I do believe that TRW is significantly advanced in the amount of low-cost country sourcing that we do today. And we have plans over the next 5-year planning period to increase that level of sourcing, which of course includes for our Asia Pacific region localization of as many parts as we possibly can. The general strategy for low-cost country sourcing really varies quite significantly by commodity. So whether you're buying machine castings, forgings, turned parts, complex electromechanical assemblies, stampings, plastic injection molded parts, that commodity strategy is going to change, and it's going to change really based upon a couple of factors that are important from particularly a China perspective. One, of course, is the value add that you get in the part. So if it's a part that has significant value add, where China can leverage its its labor and overhead cost advantage, and those are parts that typically would be preferred parts for low-cost country sourcing, and potentially low-cost country sourcing to China, as opposed to Mexico for North America or Eastern Europe for Europe.
Yeah.
Where the cost differential is still there, but you still have the logistics and potentially duty offset costs that you've got to overcome. And you have the inherent risk of supply. You've got the quality risk of supply, and you have the delivery risk of supply for a long supply chain. So those are all factors that are considered in a sourcing equation. So value add is a key variable. And the second, and I think in most commodities, the most significant key variable is the cost of the underlying raw material. So most of the parts I just mentioned are either cast parts, so we're talking about the cost of scrap steel to do an iron casting. We're talking about the underlying cost of bar steel or sheet steel to do stampings or forgings or machined parts. And we're talking about the resin cost to do plastic parts, etc. So those are areas where China is either uniquely positioned in a very competitive way or in an uncompetitive way.
Yeah.
And I think that the degree to which we'll see more, we'll say low-cost country export component sourcing to China is going to have an awful lot to do with the development of the underlying raw material industry, where in some cases China does not have a competitive advantage. For example, in injection molded resins in particular. The thing that TRW is working on more and more, though, and their global sourcing as well, is really trying to qualify local raw material grades that we don't typically specify in Europe and North America. So there's a significant activity there. Having said all that, our purchase amount from China is growing every year, and is growing obviously well in excess of the localization activity we have for our domestic business here in China. We very much operate a purchasing organization that is harmonized between what we're buying domestically and what we would source globally, so that we can link that across a global commodity strategy. So the numbers are growing. I can't cite the actual numbers today, but we're very bullish on China. But again, it's selective and focused.